Generosity is something that when you practice open hands and letting things flow, it really does. It's an abundant quality, municipality. Well, thank you. That is one of the things that I think for me makes me feel the best. And like when I give it, it comes back.
Well, and I've watched you do that from being a young girl, and I continue to watch you do that. Like I continue to channel that because we came from very different backgrounds. You came from a background of wealth and I came from one that wasn't. And so it's like I was the one seeking it. And so I think as much as I desire to be generous and I try to be generous, I think my tendency from my childhood beliefs is to like hold on to things and to, because I didn't have it. And it's just...
I don't see you like that at all. No.
That's how you would understand it. That's what I'm working on, right? Because my natural tendency was to go out and obtain because I didn't have.
Right.
And so it comes from, I've had to work through that. And you have been a big model as I've worked through it. A big example because I've watched you just be much more like, oh, it comes and it goes and it, and give and flow and it's the cycle. And so I'm always like, yes, it's the cycle and I'm in the cycle. And as I give, even though there's like that little girl in me, but I'm still like, no, that's no.
But you feel it when you do it, right? You feel how good it feels. And it is, again, that reciprocity. It does come back to you, whether you want it to, if that's your goal or not. But I just feel like you feel better when everything's flowing and you're just,
Well, so we want our kids to learn that.
Yeah.
And so they learn by example always. So the more we can be generous and be giving and model that, the more they're going to be able to even create that success that I wanted to create. And I want them to create that full flow of it comes from that
space though, because I think as women, you're more prone to be a giver and to care for. And so I've had to learn to be vulnerable or safe enough, or I don't even know what the right word is, but to receive or accept and be okay. Like, it's not bad to, what are you doing? So in this space, those things are flying all the time. Giving, receiving, it's a constant here. And it's like I don't just have to be working my tail off all of the time for everyone, giving everyone everything. I can and then you give better
when you're okay.
That's when you can do that as well. And
which a lot of women have a hard time with. They don't like, this is why I value, like, next to my husband and my kids, my family, I value, this is like my greatest treasure. It really is, because like you said, it's just like symbiotic. We're all just like giving and receiving, and because we work so hard in these friendships, I feel like it's, I don't know. Well, and I'm glad you got emotional and said that, because it's that is the core and the reason why I'm doing this podcast and trying to send this message forth or help anyone, is because I feel like we have so much to be grateful for in our friendship. And I know you all feel the same. That as I've gotten older and looked around and associate with other women, I realize, oh, this is very special. And not everybody has this type of friendship, but everyone can. Like, you can form these friendships. You can have this sisterhood. You can be a part of our sisterhood as we discuss and talk and chat together. And you can form your own sisterhood and your own groups. You don't need to go through life alone, and you can be supported in this. It's so powerful to have good friends and to feel included.
In fact, I just thought of my new business. I'm going to sell some qualities. So if you added this, you want to purchase some qualities.
What's wrong with you? We've been listing them here on the podcast.
Okay, speaking of, let's get all the qualities out. Okay, and the next one is ethical. And it's just ethical is just ethical. There's no other words that they have to describe that, which I think is interesting. But that's a very important characteristic. And
I don't think I could really read a friendship with someone that wasn't that.
Yeah. Stacy in the doghouse. You know, they figured it out, right?
And not, well, you have to taste. It's part of, that's part of.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a standalone quality that's just very important. Okay, alike. So alike is made up of having similar preferences, having common interests, having the same value system, and staying and close by. Stays close by. So that's kind of proximity.
Because I feel like we all have a basic value system and all of those things, but we don't all think this, and that's okay. And that's beautiful. But it is beautiful. We each bring something different to the table. We got different political or religious or whatever, and everybody still has something that they're we have enough in common that it works.
But that's one thing that's really cool about, you guys, I would add a word to that, accepting. Like, yeah, you guys are very accepting of different, ideas on, we don't ever get in political discussions or religious discussions or anything like that. We don't. Well, I think it's because I don't know.
I mean, not often, but we don't. But we could. We probably could handle it, even though those are very hard ones to have, because we are accepting.
Yeah.
So people do have the space to be individuals and to have their own ideas and to think differently, and we'll hear it out and be like, all right, well, you do you, and I'll do me, and we come back together.
We talked about,
but we don't talk about them to differ. We just share.
Yes, I'm glad you said share. It's not a debate.
Yeah.
If somebody sharing something that they think is not a debate where, well, you're wrong, it's okay.
I don't think I've ever heard any of you say that.
No,
Like I've never heard.
it's coming from a place of curiosity, seeking to understand.
Yeah.
And then just sharing points of views, and then coming out with maybe a different perspective.
I think that's a really beautiful thing about getting older too, is I want to understand things more. I want to understand different perspectives, growth, understand why someone thinks differently than me, and that's okay. I don't need to be threatened by that. I might need to take my ball and run home. I can be friends with people who think different.
Yeah, it's okay. And that does, I think, come with some maturity.
Yes, but I do think common value, you want to seek friendships with common values, because you have things in common, foundational values that are going to build you up, and make you better.
Yeah,
Important.
and that's what people want. That's how they're forming friendships. Again, this is how people are forming friendships, on these things. All right, and the next one is empathetic. So when you're empathetic, they're looking for these qualities of having cultural interest, being open-minded, having empathy, being sensitive, having a high emotional intelligence, and altruistic. So the things that fall under empathetic. I love the high emotional intelligence. Not everybody has that, but it is really nice when people do have a little bit more ability to regulate your emotions. And I think also that's one that does develop more over time. And I think also it's being developed more now out of both awareness, because emotional intelligence is being studied in so much more than it ever was in the past. And also emotions currently and presently are such a big problem, more than they ever were. Maybe they were in the past, but we didn't understand and have the ways to talk about it like we do now. So I guess it's more of a problem, and more, just more.
Well, just remember that your emotions and your feelings are not the facts. So they can change, and you don't have to make a decision when you're having an emotion or you're having a feeling, or peel it back to the facts. And, and the people you surround yourself with do influence the way you process information too. Think of that. Like the people that have the ability to help you through your feelings and your thoughts and they create a safe space for you to have those things, but then you make a decision separate from that. And that's also a process of learning too, because I feel like that's kind of what's going on, is people are having a lot of feelings, and it's okay to validate feelings, but it's also, your feelings are not everything.
No, they go. And really the process before your feelings are your thoughts. So you have a thought, which creates an emotion, and then it creates an action. And so if you can understand that,
It's another great thing about getting older is being able to just sit with something
And like you said, the emotion isn't necessarily a fact. Maybe I'm going to sit with it, process it. You sent me something recently that just said, if I'm really excited about something, why am I feeling this way? And going backtrack it. What am I thinking about this? Trigger, track it. Yeah. What's the trigger? Also with when something makes you really happy as well. Being able to, where is this coming from? And is it true?
Yeah.
So not being reactive is, you could be a really good friend if you're not.
Yeah.
You can just sit in something for a minute and let it be.
Right.
So,
And you can have control or influence that if you decide to take a look at it and up-level your thinking and change the way you're thinking about things.